Hey, Rachel.
Hi, Fred.
Oh. Good morning, Rachel.
Hi.
Hi. So like we say every time we start these meetings, we don't have an agenda. This is just a chance for people to drop in and ask questions and have a chat about what you'd like to chat about. Rachel, what can we help you with today?
I was just checking in to see about the timeline, when we'll be able to start testing LYRASIS.
Yeah. Carissa, do you want to tackle that?
Yes. So we are in the process of, Rachel, what library are you with? Actually, that's where I should start.
I'm in
New Haven. Okay. So we are in the process of transitioning libraries that were on Simply E or configured with Simply E Library Simplified to Palace. Tara has done the lion's share of that work in moving, so the back end circulation manager, where we have all of the links to your ILS and your collections, we needed to physically move that to a new server. So that work has been completed by Tara. We're in the process of testing everything to make sure it moved over correctly. In tandem, our technical team is working on getting the version of the Palace app ready to go and available in the App Store, and making some additional modifications on all of our deployment infrastructure. Of course, as all things do, they encountered some issues, so we're a little bit behind. Originally, I was hoping to have something available for you to start testing now, but it looks like that's going to be another month out. We're hoping to get the version of Palace in the App Store in the next couple weeks, with just open content in it, so you can at least see the Palace app. And then in the new year, reach out to you to give you access to your library so you can start testing. So that's tentatively what our plan is right now. It's really kind of correlated to where the tech team is and getting the app in the App Store. But we're hoping that there'll be a version of the app in the App Store that you can at least check out the free books, the Palace collection, so you can see it and preview it here in the next couple of weeks. So that's what we're shooting for.
Okay, and will we receive an email about that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll post it in the social hub and everything like that too. So.
And I also haven't seen any promotional materials up yet.
Well, yeah, so I actually have a lot that are ready to go, but I've just been holding off posting them until we're closer to the launch, because as I do that, people just kind of want to know, well, when are we going to launch? And until we have a date with that, I feel like it's going to confuse things. But I have stuff starting from like 3 weeks, 4 weeks out from launching, like Palace is coming, and stay tuned for your new, for this new e-content, stuff like that. So you'll get it with plenty of time before you're ready to launch. I have newsletters, swipe copy, and text, and all kinds of stuff like that. But I've just been holding off posting it until we have a firm date so that we can.
And again, will I get an email, or should I just keep checking to see if it's available yet?
You'll get an email. When I message everybody through the social hub, it says that it goes through to people's emails. Do you get those? I'm wondering,
No.
They maybe go through to spam. Well, anyway, we'll email everybody directly as well, and we'll email Brad so he can let people know too. So, yeah.
That was the only questions I had.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for dropping by.
It's good seeing you all.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Thanks, Rachel.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye. And here comes Lynn. Hello, Lynn. You are muted, not
Hello.
Sure. Hi.
No problem. Just logging in.
Perfect. Welcome. Well, we just had Rachel leave, so now here you are. This is it's like a revolving door or something. But we don't have any kind of firm agenda with this, so you're here right now, and we're just here to take questions. So what can we help you with?
Oh, I was just sort of hoping that I would learn a little bit more about Palace, because I personally thought that Simply E was quite difficult to maneuver, and I'm hoping Palace is a little easier.
Yeah, well, it's based on the same code. I don't know, Carissa, do you want to talk a little bit about the changes with Palace?
Sure. I can start, and then if anybody has thoughts that I've missed. Palace is going to be built on Simply E, on the open source code base. as a starting point, but we are taking all the feedback we received about Simply E and step by step making it better. So some of the things that we, LYRASIS, I should say, now as the main developer of Palace, has updated is in the kind of what we're targeting for the first release of Palace. And then, of course, we'll add new features and functionality. Since we're the development team now, we can do that. But what we have already, I keep saying we, the development team has already implemented as changes in Palace that are different from Simply E, is when you first download the app to select your library. Before you had to scroll through a really long list. And now you can just search for your library. There's a little search bar at the top, so you can very easily find your library kind of when you first download the app. We have re-enabled library logos and library branding. So at some point last year in Simply E, the logos were stripped out and it was just a whole bunch of gray books as like the default logo. So we've added libraries, logos, and branding back into the app so patrons visually are kind of more comfortable. They recognize and find familiarity with the interface. Trying to think of some other things that we've done already so far. I mean, those are the big ones that we heard loud and clear from libraries. And then we have a whole host of new feature development that we're slating to start early next year to continue to make Palace better and better. Was there something specific or some things specifically, Lynn, that you didn't like about Simply E that you're hoping that will resolve sooner rather than later that come to mind?
Well, because it was my understanding that Simply E was meant to be the catalog that all the apps would combine.
Yep.
And yet Hoopla was being difficult and not sharing. And so now I'm wondering if Hoopla has gotten any easier, because if, when I do my annual statistics, a majority of my patrons use Libby or Overdrive, but there's a substantial number of people that use Hoopla, and it would be really wonderful if they could have that one-stop shopping, which I thought Simply E was supposed to be.
Right. So Hoopla is not integrated yet in Palace. It is something that we're talking about, how to go about integrating Hoopla. The problem is that Hoopla's kind of licensing and business model is significantly different than the content providers that are integrated into Palace right now, which are Overdrive, Baker and Taylor, Biblioteca. Hoopla's like a la carte, and you set your settings in terms of how much you want patrons to be able to check out. And so we have, there's two steps in the process. There's kind of the logical mapping of how we would kind of translate that into kind of the Palace app infrastructure alongside the kind of more traditional licensing models of Overdrive and Biblioteca and Baker and Taylor. And then of course there's the technical work, which to date, Hoopla doesn't have an API, an application programming interface, in order for us to even integrate with. So there's kind of the philosophical and kind of UI component, and then there's also creating a business relationship with Hoopla and having their team actually develop an API that we could even integrate with. So it is something that we've heard loud and clear from libraries. So it is something that we're talking about. It's just going to take an approach to reach out to Hoopla and create a business relationship, and obviously have them sign on to development. And of course, there would be development on our end as well. So.
Okay, well, those were really my questions. I was just sort of hoping that if I came here, that I'd be hearing other people's questions. It is expected to be coming out in December sometime?
So I missed what library you're with, Lynn?
Goshen Public Library.
Goshen, okay. So right now, our tentative plan, which is directly correlated with our development team. So the goal is to have the Palace app in the App Store here in the next couple of weeks, and you will then be able to access the open content. So there's a collection of open materials called the Palace Bookshelf, so you can get a preview of the app. In the meantime, Tara has done an amazing amount of work we had your library configured on old servers running old software, and Tara had to, physically retype all of that material or all of those configurations onto new servers. So she has done that work. We are actively testing to make sure your library's ILS configurations and all of your collections ported over correctly and that everything is working before we give you a preview. And so we're hoping to do that in the new year, at the start of the new year and in the January timeframe. So I guess that's a long-winded recap. Palace app in the App Store, we're hoping in the next couple of weeks, and you'll have access to kind of preview it and download open content with the bookshelf that's available there. And then in early January-ish timeframe, again, this is all, TBD based on our developers giving us the thumbs up, but our plan right now is then to reach out to you and give you access to your library in the app, into the Palace app.
Okay, so I guess that's where all the questions I had, unless there was anything that anyone else wanted to share.
Are you in our community hub, Lynn? That's where we're sharing a lot of information updates, marketing materials, all that sort of stuff as we develop it.
I tend, it doesn't come as an email, it comes as a link that I have to go elsewhere. So no, I don't look at it very frequently.
That's fine. Lynn, once we get the marketing materials up and everything, we'll be letting people know. And in that group is where everything will be. There's a document library there, like a repository where I'll have everything. So at that point you can go in, you don't need to go in now, but at that point you can go in, and I see that you are a member of the group. So once we have the marketing materials ready, we're just waiting to release them until, we're closer to the go live dates for people. But I'll, send a message out, and at that point you might want to go in and check things out and see. We're also building, a listserv and ways to communicate a little bit easier with you. So, well, hopefully it'll become a little bit easier to stay on top of things too. But that group, as it grows too, there will be, conversations going on there with best practices, and it'll be a really good resource for you to be able to ask questions and get all the materials that you need as well. So,
well,
stay tuned.
Heather,
yeah,
I'm gonna, mind you, this is just me. And I have no idea what other people say. Maybe tons of people love that sort of sequence, but I get thousands of emails a day.
sure.
And so if I get something and all it says is Heather Tesco added something, I just go, oh yeah, right, scroll down and go to the next email. I hardly ever click on a link to go find something out. So I don't know if you want to add more to the email saying, oh, Heather Tesco added this about this specific topic or something, because you've got to make me want to click on the link to go find something else out.
Yeah.
And historically, since I thought Simply E was very difficult to maneuver, and I think I tried to use it like once or twice, and then I just threw up my hands and said, I'll just stick to Libby or Hoopla. And I always have like 2 audiobooks on my bookshelf. I use this technology, and yet it was just one of those things that I was like, I hardly ever look at the emails that you send out. I mean, don't take it personally, but I just don't want to click on a link to go somewhere, because I have to deal with so many of these each day from the listserv and everything else. So yeah,
absolutely makes total sense. And, I'll play around with the settings in the group and see what I can do to make it a little bit more obvious what's being sent out. And we will also follow up with some direct emails too.
Okay.
But just,
Thank you.
Yeah. And just, it's not even so much that when we send out the emails that you should click, but just to keep in mind that group is there as a resource for you. So if you're having frustrations, if there are things that you're looking for, you can pop into that group and other people are there. We can can, you know, share sort of information and best practices. So every time I send out an email, you don't have to think like, oh, I should go click on the link or there's another thing to click on. Just, I guess it's keeping in mind that that is a resource that's available for you that we provide to the libraries that are on PALIS to, you know, get answers, like I said, to talk to other colleagues who are going through perhaps some of the same questions and get answers there. And also, you know, it's the place to get the materials and trainings and everything like that. So I'll see what I can do on my end to make it a little bit clearer, and we'll work on some other ways of contacting you. And then you can just keep in mind that it's there when you need it.
Okay, thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thanks for the feedback too. We appreciate that. Awesome.
Okay, well, I guess I will leave and, you know, look forward to December and January. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thanksgiving.
Great,
Thanks,
thank
Lynn.
you.